Now, as we approach the second anniversary of the Taliban taking power again in Afghanistan, women and girls across the country continue to fight for their right to an education and employment. Countries across the world have joined in condemning the regime, with the UN saying there is no religious justification for excluding girls and women from secondary schools and from universities. Well, joining me now is Fawzia Koofi, former Deputy Speaker of Parliament in Afghanistan, the first female to hold that position, also a former chairperson of Afghanistan's Women and Human Rights Commission. Welcome to you. Now, 2 years since the Taliban went into Kabul and the last Western troops left, and it seems conditions for women and girls are getting worse and worse.
Absolutely, Mark. Since the Taliban took power for the second time in 2001, gradually they have imposed restrictions and sanctions over women. It's not only about education and work. Basically, women are deprived from all their fundamental basic rights. From work, from participating in public sphere, from going to school. And because I have also been personally, experiencing this in the first time when Taliban were in power, I was deprived from going to university. I can see the pain. Not only that all the struggles we have put in the last 20 years is gone, but also for me as a personal matter. For millions of women in Afghanistan, their hopes are shattered. And what Taliban do literally does not have any, as the world says, it does not have any religious justification nor cultural justification. And it's not happening in the rest of the world. Afghanistan is the only country where women are being suppressed.
Now, you were among those who negotiated with the Taliban, or tried to negotiate with the Taliban in 2020, before their rapid advance across the country. Now, in those negotiations, did they make any promises at all about girls' education and the rights of women?
Yes, there is public evidence of the Taliban leaders speaking about the women's rights and girls' education. I remember the quotes saying that from their perspective, girls could get to school and universities up to PhD level. Women can get to work, become ministers, get involved in business, become prime minister, become ministers. Now, the question is, were they making those statements, nice statements, to make all of us trap into that narrative of Taliban 2.0? Were they not serious then? Are they using women as an instrument to engage with the world? Yeah. Unfortunately, women of Afghanistan, Mark, are being used as a weapon by the international community and by the Taliban, because the international community also use women to engage with Taliban, women's rights to engage with Taliban. But at the end of the day, they also pursue other issues, economic engagement with Taliban, security engagement. But entry point is women. So what we have gained in the last 2 years is nothing.
No.
In fact, it got worse.
And those promises, even the vague promises, have led to nothing. Now, some girls are attending these underground schools, these secret schools, but the vast majority, 2.5 million children get no education at all. Now, Gordon Brown, who is a UN envoy for global education, said today it's gender apartheid and that it was time to declare it a crime against humanity. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. All the evidence indicates the recent report by the UN Working Group, the special rapporteur on the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights, but also based on personal contacts that we have every day with women across Afghanistan, with men in different parts of Afghanistan. What Taliban do is a gender apartheid. Now we need to put all our energy towards that and bring those into account for violating human rights in a global, in a bigger context, but also women's rights particularly. And I think without changing the political ecosystem of Afghanistan, nothing will change. Moving forward, I think the world must unite to pressurize Taliban, including the regional countries, because the regional countries have a totally different approach.
Including indicting leaders, and talking, it's a matter for the International Criminal Court. Would you go along with that?
There should be some level of accountability, because over 4 decades of war in Afghanistan and using women as a tool of war, no one has ever been brought to justice. And that's why the culture of impunity actually empowered the perpetrators. That's why I think some level of accountability is important. In the meantime, I think political pressure for a change of political ecosystem. So both should go parallel. Accountability, using international mechanisms, Human Rights Council, ICC, but on the other hand, the regional countries, the Muslim majority countries and the global north must pressurize Taliban for a political process, because without changing that political situation, Taliban will continue to use women as a tool for their negotiation.
Do you think they'll listen? Do you think they're prepared to negotiate on this issue?
For now, no, because they think they're the absolute, winner of the war, which is not true. Actually, we know they got to power because of the Doha deal that was signed with them. But I think if there is a united position by the international community, including the region is very, very important. The neighboring countries of Afghanistan, China, Iran, Pakistan, Central Asian countries, Russia, they have a different approach. I think they must realize that women's rights is a matter of security of their own countries. So if women of Afghanistan continue to be suppressed, their own security could be at risk.
Now, what is your situation? I mean, you've held these very senior positions as a woman in Afghanistan, but you were also targeted by the Taliban, weren't you? You were, I think, attacked by the Taliban.
Twice.
Yeah.
And the last time I was injured, which was 14th of August 2020. So it's going to be...
So do you think they tried to kill you?
2 times, actually. But I still negotiated with them because I believe we have a say that you cannot wash blood with blood. You need to wash blood with water. Obviously, I negotiated with a good faith, with the hope that Taliban will be able to accept the transform Afghanistan. And Afghanistan, which is not Afghanistan 1996, when they first came to power and you were in Afghanistan. It's a totally different Afghanistan. Transformed, younger generation, media, women, they play an important role in the transformation. I try to convince that message to them and invite them to coexist. And
would you talk to them again? Would you negotiate with them
if
again
that means
now?
a peaceful... Peace, not in a sense that absence of war. If that means a peaceful government representative of all segments of society, including women, I will. But they need to realize that peace, we are not begging them. They only must realize the importance of peace because Afghanistan is at the edge of collapse from any, angle.
All right. Fawzia Koofi, thank you very much for coming in. Nearly 2 years since the Taliban took power again in Afghanistan. Thank you very much indeed.